Well guys, I'm gonna tell you off the get-go, this is gonna be the first time in history since when I have been working with PC parts that I am actually recommending AMD for the high-end. So let's get started with this re-review of the RX 7900 XTX in 2024. Now that all the driver issues, all the compatibility issues, and more importantly, all the thermal pads melting and the PCBs giving out issues have been sorted. Now the RX 7900 XTX is a card which came out with an MSRP of 1,000 bucks in March 2023, so around 1.5 years ago. Now, in late 2024, we are close to RTX 5000 release. However, the prices on RTX 4090s haven't quite dropped yet. And now we also have the RTX 4080 Super. This card we're talking about here today, the RX 7900 XTX, which I have just bought for my personal PC in the ASRock Taichi White version right there. Not sponsored, by the way, just wanted to buy one. And yeah, nobody's sending me GPUs because my channel is tiny, I know. But is the card I bought to replace the RTX 4090 I had in my PC before. If you're new to the channel, I basically made a video explaining why the RTX 4090 is probably useless for 95% of users, and I will put the link up here in case you haven't seen it, and also because if you're seeing this video, you probably want to buy a high-end GPU, and you're probably considering between the RTX 4080, 4080 Super, 7900 XTX, and the 4090. So let me tell you guys, don't buy a 4090. Again, there is just a very small percentage of you guys which will actually need it, and it's probably useless. The best card to buy from NVIDIA at the moment is the 4080 Super. And well, this card from AMD was meant to be the competitor to the 4080, but after all the driver updates and with all the pretty cool custom models that have come out, it is surprisingly managed to hold up very well against the 4080 Super. Now, if you're looking for detailed benchmarks, this is not the channel for you, because there are guys in the industry like Hardware Unboxed that make much better benchmarking than me, but I will just sum it up for you guys. Basically, against the 4080 Super, the 7900 XTX sometimes wins, sometimes loses. It kind of evens out in the end, especially if we tweak both of the cards. So if we undervolt and overclock both of them, they are really on the exact same level of performance. This card is actually beating the 4080 right now in my testing, but this is also confirmed online if you look at tweaked benchmarks. This card is a lot cheaper though, so price is already on our end. However, it is cheaper for a reason. So AMD cards lack a lot of features that NVIDIA cards have, and they run a lot worse in certain specific scenarios. So now I'm gonna tell you which these are, but if none of these apply to you, you should just buy a 7900 XTX, because simply raw performance, it is the same, sometimes it beats the 4080 Super, and it is a lot cheaper. And it also has other advantages, which we'll discuss later on in the video. So these advantages are as follow. Now, you don't have Shadow Play, you don't have a GeForce Experience, which is a very good app, even though people criticize it. And the driver app for AMD, the Adrenaline software, it is probably the terrible, worst driver app ever made. It is a mess, doesn't quite work perfectly all the time. The recording function built in as well as monitoring is just leagues under the GeForce Experience one. However, if you're using OBS to record your gameplay, or if you just don't record your gameplay, you probably don't care about that. Second thing is ray tracing. So these cards can ray trace, but they suck. So don't buy it for ray tracing. If you have one of these, you can use maybe some effect, but just don't play with a full-on ray traced game. It's just gonna perform bad. Even though you look online, the benchmarks are pretty decent, the 1% lows are pretty bad. It just dips. It's not good. Upscaling, so we're talking DLSS, FSR. FSR is actually not too bad, and I can actually recommend this card as well. You're also lacking the NVIDIA low latency mode with the boost, which is pretty useful if you're playing competitively. However, side note for competitive players, I play Call of Duty competitively, not really professionally, just low level competitively, very low level. And basically this card for me, it has been running as well latency wise as the 4090. So probably you don't need a low latency to be on, because this card has other things architecturally that make up for it. If you tweak it properly, it's gonna be fine. Software optimization. So if you're using the Adobe suite, especially Premiere Pro is what I'm thinking about, there are some effects which you can only run on NVIDIA GPU. And it's gonna be the same for multiple other programs. Now, on average, there is always an emulated alternative or an alternative which you can use with AMD. But if you're a professional video editor and you use the effects in Premiere, which are NVIDIA only, you're gonna be in a bad situation. So if you know you're using any of these features, you cannot buy an AMD GPU. So this is the main thing separating who can buy this card and who cannot buy this card, pretty much. There's not much else, if not for one last thing. If you're streaming, the 4080 has a dual encoder. Now they are very well optimized in OBS. You can like stream and record at the same time. And even though streaming performance is theoretically pretty similar, I think if you're just streaming regularly, it's better to go NVIDIA for the dual encoder and for better optimization. The ImWateringsPSUs encoder is very good, much better than the NVIDIA one. Trust me on this. So these are all the negatives. If you do not care about any of these, this is a good buy. And there are also some positives, which we'll explain right now. So the card is just smaller. Now listen, I know, I just bought the biggest custom on the market pretty much. It is a 3-slot Tai Chi card from ASRock, but if you buy a regular one, especially like a Founders, it is a much smaller card than NVIDIA. Online it is full of pictures showing the reference Founders Edition RTX 4090 against Founders Edition RX 1700 XTX. This card is a lot smaller. It goes in a lot more systems. You can build a mini ITX system with it, and it also draws power from less connectors. Now again, I bought top of the line card. I have 3 connectors, 3 8-pin, which may be a little bit annoying, but for you, it's gonna be 2 8-pin connectors in 90% of customs. And you don't need the annoying Gen 5 cable from NVIDIA. So if you have a very good PSU from the past, like I have an 850 watt 80 plus titanium unit from Seasonic, I can just run it without an adapter, which I prefer. I can also use the sleeved extensions, which I already have. And also the card runs cooler than the NVIDIA counterparts. Now, hold up. This is gonna be very specific to which custom you buy, but it ties into my recommendation. So if you buy a good custom, it's gonna run cooler than a 4090. So this card I have right here in my height Y60 PC build, right on the side of me, is running at 50 degrees while I'm playing. But I am running my card with the quiet BIOS and I am running it undervolted. Now, full undervolting tutorial is on the channel, so you can go check it out. Just copy my settings. But basically what this combo is doing is I'm running it at a lower power consumption than stock, but with the same performance as stock. I am saving around 100 watts, which is a lot. And the card is cool, quiet, the fans barely spin, and it's just running great for me. The thing though is, since the card is so much cheaper than NVIDIA counterparts, you can spend just a little bit of extra money to buy a good custom. And nowadays in NVIDIA, due to the standards that NVIDIA imposed to AIB manufacturers, pretty much every RTX 4080 is gonna be good in PCB design, thermal-wise, etc. AMD is a bit more loose in this sense, so I recommend you buy a good model. Now, I picked the Tai Chi because I found it for 1,000 bucks flat, which I thought was a very good deal. But if you go on the used market, you can find insane deals on 1700 XTXs, because a lot of people buy them and then they need the NVIDIA features and so they sell them. You can just buy off of them for very cheap. I'm talking like 700 bucks. NVIDIA cards, they sell for a lot higher on the used market at the moment. If you want a good custom like this, you're looking at around the 800 bucks, unless you find a very, very good deal, of course. But still, price is insanely low, and you can get a good custom too, which is worth it. Now, this thing also has more VRAM than 4080. It has 24 gigabytes of VRAM, just like the 4090. Now, you're probably not gonna use that much VRAM unless you do renders, but it's nice to have, am I right? So to draw the conclusions, we basically have a card which costs less. You can buy a better looking card and also one of the best customs for cheaper than you would buy a regular 4080 Super. It basically runs quieter, cooler, and it does whatever you want with no driver issues. Again, I didn't mention that, but I thought it was obvious. They sorted out all the driver issues, so you can just plug it in and play. The only thing is you have to renounce at the NVIDIA features, which are what are making the other cards more expensive. But if you don't need them, definitely go ahead and buy an RX 1700 XTX in late 2024. I think it's going to be a great buy, and I'm very happy about my purchase, and I'm going to keep it for a while. Let me know down below if you bought one or if you wanted to buy one and ended up going in another direction. Also, let me know why. I'd like to have the comments as a place to discuss buying choices and what we should get to get the most out of our money. And if the video was helpful, maybe drop a like and a sub. I do a lot of tech review, PC builds, undervolts on the channel. You may want to check me out, see if you like the content, and I hope to see you guys again. Bye bye.